This conference will now be recorded.
We just started recording.
Where is Ed? Does he have a special background? Or Ed, where are you?
If you would like copies, there's agendas up here.
He's on mute.
Sorry, I'm in my office.
Oh, what is everything behind you? I've also got Lake. Are those all cameras? Oh no, you got typewriter.
That's the original social media device.
Cool gadgets. Neat.
It's actually the typewriter my dad used to use. These are surveying instruments that I used to use.
Okay.
Sending out a survey. That's a camera.
Ah.
That's a thing that my dad used to use to make postcards with his camera. So.
That's so cool. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. I am going to officially, we have quorum here, so I'm going to call what is today? The Monday, March 10th, 2025 meeting of the Belchertown Creative Economy Committee to order, and the time is 5:50. Hi. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. We'll start with our roundtable. Any public speak today? And if you've noticed, we've added another area where we can have open discussion in the agenda for events and upcoming items. So, all right. And we sent around the approval of the February meeting minutes. So sent around the February meeting minutes. I did not receive any email correspondence on any updates or requests. Are there any words are failing me today? It's that type of a Monday. Are there any comments or changes to the February meeting minutes? All right, if somebody would like to make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I will second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, February meeting minutes approved. Okay, this is quick so far. We're doing good. All right. Discussion, action items. So we have some new business that we can go through for the agenda today, and it's going to be hopping around, and we'll start off. So this is going to be the first update. It's going to be a light update just on the pergola.
Oh, wait, I don't have the right agenda.
Sorry. Mine says pergola. Does yours say pergola?
Yeah.
Did the other agenda get passed?
Pergola.
This is the one that was posted online.
How did that happen?
That's so weird.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
That is so
This
weird.
is a
How
pergola update.
I have the one that was.
I was going to say, I thought I took that off of the, as I'm saying that, I'm like, I thought I took that off the agenda. How did that, you printed it today?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why I paused.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you,
It's like a
okay,
band
well, I
stand.
grabbed yours to copy. Okay, sorry about that.
Because this
We'll
is
get it
the-
right one of these
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
That's the one
Except
that's
for
posted
it's
online, right?
posted
Because I'm
online.
like, wait a
Like,
minute,
not a
I
solid
didn't
roof.
say we were gonna talk about that.
okay.
We changed it
Okay.
after, yeah.
We can touch on it
In the second, yeah, in the coordinating. That was my thought on it. Okay, we copied the agenda on a different one. So for those who grabbed the copied agenda from here, the new business, the pergola update piece that was not the posted, that was a printed different one. The one online is posted. Our first item is the upcoming events roundtable discussion, which is part of that. Thank you. We had the technology up and running perfect this time, so we had that mistake in the agenda to keep with the theme of something every meeting. So, thank you. First, upcoming events roundtable. So we wanted to put this into the agenda kind of as we had our public speak, but to really kind of hone in because we do have a lot of moving pieces at all times, and we've noticed that events and everything start coming up when we go through the public speak. So we can have a section now of upcoming events roundtable. So are there any upcoming events that we'd like to talk about?
Didn't realize that's what that was.
And there's other pieces. There's going to be thoughts. There's going to be more to it. But the roundtable for the first section is open discussion of upcoming events.
Okay. Should I just is this a forum to just share that things are happening, or should there be things that I want to talk about?
You can share that things are happening.
This is here in part to offer a structured way to gather some of these events that are happening so that we can coordinate marketing and promotion efforts, because this is a representative body of so many other bodies and stakeholders in town, and it's like so many, it's just an opportunity to gather that.
So can they be in other words, you know, there's a big push going on looking for artists and artisans and stuff to participate in the Quabog Relay for Life huge craft fair that's gonna be on the common?
Yeah, cultural.
Cultural, so it doesn't have to be town spot blessed. Got it.
Let me see. This is an event, but the Blue Heron sculpture at Lake Wallace, I know that's moving as fast as possible. And I believe the sculptor is in touch with Linda and Sarah and the Conservation Commission. So the thing we want to agree on is, you know, how to celebrate that, probably at the same time as the bench sculpture, which probably will be in the fall.
Oh, that would be fall?
The bench is like fall time,
Okay.
where we'll actually be ready to unveil.
Okay, Louise had reached out thinking that the unveiling and some event that Lake Wallace was doing could be coordinated, and then it's like, oh, maybe also the Pocket Park.
Yeah, so we had talked to Louise and you about Pocket Park in order to get in community input on the bench. So we wanted to do something that was happening at Lake Wallace where the artists could come and talk to people and do an activity. But you know, we don't want it to be just an activity about this bench because, you know, probably people won't come. But we, you know, if there's existing things happening or if we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on at the same time, she would want to pile on to that. So that would be, I think there's still talk on April 18th or 26th around Earth Day or Earth Week, which is also school vacation. So I don't have details on that right now. I'm kind of waiting for whatever Louise and other folks are planning.
I thought we were waiting to hear back from the artist as to when she was available. Are we?
She said she could be available.
Okay.
We don't have, she didn't say she's not available. I said, here's what we're looking at. Let me know if this does not work.
Okay.
So I think it's open.
Okay. I think last I thought we were waiting to hear from her. And we don't know more about the park and when that, I know that's about like when the weather is good enough and so on, but do we have everything for that to go up and now just the DPW has to figure out how to install it, or don't we know where we're at with that?
Oh,
The pocket?
Yeah, for the bike park, we're doing a site visit on Thursday, for all the location, but, Linda, if you have like an idea roughly of timeline to, begin and duration for install?
Can you hear me? Because I have my phone as my audio. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I would, you know, we're going to meet with you, Maude, on Thursday. When I was talking with Max about what it looked like his crew could do, it was more towards June. And there's a couple key employees that are off for a couple weeks. And Memorial Day, and there's just a whole stack of things that come on his team as soon as the grass starts growing. So let's talk on Thursday, Maude, and we can hopefully narrow down, you know, a start date. But we have all the materials, just a matter of the bodies getting the work done.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like it will work for community input. I don't know if anybody knows more about what Louise has planned or who else she's planning that with.
She had shared a suite of potential, here we go. Sorry.
I think she was thinking about doing a Lake Wallace critters exploration on the Friday of that vacation week.
Yeah.
I don't know at what time.
The 18th and April 18th. Oh, Earth Day event, Saturday, April 26th.
Yes, is that the Friday?
And then with the cleanup, adopt a trail drive, 10 to noon on Friday, April 18th.
Okay, cleanup on the 18th, and then what's the event that's happening on the Saturday, which maybe is a better.
Saturday, April 26th is the Earth Day event. So it's a townwide event. It's coordinated with conservation and the Lake Wallace is going to be 10 to 1 or 2. I haven't seen Sarah's materials about it yet, but it's usually morning into early afternoon-ish.
Is this just the cleanup event that they do? Okay, I will say on record that only about 3 families usually participate in that. I've been involved in it for several years, and it's not a huge event.
Okay.
So if we are going to key in on that, we need to make it a bigger event.
Okay.
We're gonna need to do
So
a lot.
what's the difference between the 18th and the 26th in terms of like the programming?
So the 26th is a part of the townwide Earth Day event, whereas the 18th is a specific at Lake Wallace spring cleanup and adopt a trail. So Louise has initiated an adopt the trail where there are these section markers, and it's just a way to get commitments for certain sections.
Okay, so they're both cleanup events. It's just okay. Sorry.
They're just different ways of marketing. There's basically like Fridays once a month, there's cleanup and trail restoration work that's being done. And this is just like a neat way of kind of repackaging it along with other town events.
Okay, so potentially the Saturday would have more turnout because it's a Saturday and it's Earth Day. There's more stuff going on.
Yeah, I think that's the
Also,
idea.
just so you're aware too, I don't believe the kids don't have school on the 18th either.
Yeah, so maybe there'd be more. Okay, well, I will see what the sculptor wants to do.
The 26th is also one of the viewfinder workshops for the adults.
Oh, are those indoors or can you bring them to Lake Wallace?
They'll be brought to, half of it is at Lake Wallace. They go out to Lake Wallace.
They start indoors with
Yeah.
the presentation and then they go outside. But that's just a teen and adult, not a child-related viewfinder.
That's fine, yeah.
And I think it's from 9 to 12. I think it's a pretty long workshop.
Okay, so potentially some overlap if the other one is going from 10 to 1. We could grab those people for their input. Because adults, yeah, definitely.
Photos of people cleaning up.
Yes. Here's your inspiration. It's like planted.
Can I piggyback on the 26th? The DPW also participates, and as last year, we've purchased 100 white spruce seedlings to give away if you bring a trash bag back. So we have the dumpster on the common, and I think Sarah's working on hopefully getting something going with the Boy Scouts. Sustainability, Energy and Sustainability Committee is supposed to be there. But I agree with you, Jennifer. We really need to get the word out. Last year was the first event, and we had bad weather, and it was 9 to noon, and we really need to get the word out, but it's year 2, and I'm hoping that this is going to become something known to be an annual event. But yeah, that's a little bit more extra on that Earth Day Arbor Day event.
Cool. I'll just go through the other grant events coming up. There's Paint Sip Fun on the 19th at the Senior Center. It's a wood sign workshop where you're learning to paint a sign of your choosing with step-by-step instructions and all that good stuff. That's on the 19th at 1 p.m. There's 2 sessions of the ABCs of genealogy, getting started with your family research, also at the Senior Center. That is March 17th and 24th at 2 p.m. There's a session on the 21st from Ireland to America, also at the Senior Center at 10:30 in the morning. An interactive music program, a 1-hour interactive music program, festival celebration of traditional Irish and Irish American musical traditions performed on a variety of stringed, wind, and percussion instruments.
Are these all the ones that are listed on the Senior Center website?
I don't know, maybe, hope so.
Yeah. So I think.
We don't need to hear these?
Yeah, we're really trying to do, so there's the town, systems put out ones for municipal events
Okay.
that are tied to rec, Senior Center.
Perfect. Library?
And then the library is putting out so many things as well. And really the goal is to kind of have a concerted place where both municipal and organizations that are outside of municipal entities together combined in the kind of big umbrella of cultural activities. And outdoor rec is included, have a kind of shared home.
Cool.
To be promoted as, sense of place, quality of life, economic drivers, all of the things that they also do and framed together. It's like, this is part of what makes Belchertown unique.
Okay. The only one I guess then that I would add is on the 29th of March. There's an event. It's taking place here, but it's not, it's just the location. It's You're Back in the Garden. Like, you are back in the garden and you're back. So that taking care of your body as you work. It's a workshop on learning to keep bodies safe and healthy while doing outdoor work, gardening and growing. And they have like a trained occupational therapist coming in to do that event. So yeah, that shouldn't be on anyone's radar yet, except they are marketing it nicely, I hope. Everything else is at one of the locations.
Is that with Pat Berry? Yeah. She had emailed us. Okay, great. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's it then.
I got that. So, from the garden.
Yes, yes.
Other events to note or upcoming activities? Okay. So kind of leading into this naturally is thoughts on shared event. Starting to discuss and think about a shared event with BCC, other stakeholders, projects to really celebrate once the pergola goes up, the pocket park, the benches, the sculpture, and starting to think about kind of the activation and timing and what that could look like. So it sounds like pergola won't be until mid-late summer. Okay, and the bench will be towards the fall now. Okay.
Yeah, that's the last.
If we've got that much lead time, I think we can table the idea of coordinating for now at least. Does that sound fair to you?
So, yeah, but knowing it looks like we'll be looking at the more fall time then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Which shifts support potentially as
Yeah.
well. It'll fall within the cultural district, but that's, it'll be after my contract is over.
Yeah. Okay. And that picks up, that's a pretty busy time of year as far as events and activations. So I think I'll put a note on this to bring this back. Probably in, what are we in, March right now, April, May, maybe the May or June, if we'll have updates. Maybe May we'll touch on and see if there's updates, and then June is to see kind of where timing is going on items. Just thinking of competing, the fall gets very busy with competing kind of weekends and events and activations and everything.
Okay. I mean, I can always ask if she can be done by late summer. See how it goes. She's planning to do the designing on site.
Oh, nice.
So it'll all be it'll be there.
That's
Some form.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so I'll bring this back a little bit later for us to keep. Okay. All right. Joe, you're welcome. We were just going through if there's any upcoming events roundtable discussion and if there's anything of note that kind of would be outside the classic calendars to have on our radar.
Have anything to add at the moment? I looked at the list.
Nice.
It seemed, yeah.
All right, next up is the container mural project update. For the, thank you, for the original, yeah. Where's Cindy's? Yeah,
you have the
I have the original now. So container, so they're all there. They're, thank you, grant opportunities discussion. We're doing great on this tonight. So I'm writing notes around that. So grant opportunities discussion. Recently there's the One Stop for Growth grant. If you are not familiar with that program.
Yeah, it's grants.
Yeah,
So
grants.
There's 3 different offices offering something in the neighborhood of like a dozen different grants. There's a big coordination meeting coming up. And this is an opportunity for us to talk about what kinds of projects are, known, or we want to kind of have some discussion here and consideration, and to prioritize and to bring that into that meeting. So I'll be at that meeting, so I'm looking for guidance and I have ideas, but this is an opportunity to get some guidance. And then within this meeting, how it worked last year was the focus is on the One Stop, but folks from different departments and other community organizations bring their project ideas forward and we coordinate. Because many of these grants, there's only one per community. And there are sometimes other grants that are out there beyond the One Stop that might be a fit, or you have an eligibility for one group but not another. So it's really just to coordinate that kind of stuff. But just in general, the scope of a lot of these projects are, big capital or infrastructure projects. We're probably not looking at anything like that. But there are also technical assistance grants where there's things like design or planning assistance. There's the Rural Development Fund, which is more the like construction or doing a market study or something like that. There's a vacant storefront program, but I don't know that we actually are eligible given our matrix of vacancies. There's housing choice. Some of these have a similar realm where it's kind of like planning, site preparation, building infrastructure throughout the continuum. Community planning, housing works, infrastructure, site readiness, underutilized properties. There used to be a couple of programs that were more like creative placemaking. They've been cut. And there was the Mass Leads Act was supposed to have created this downtown vitality grant program. And it was supposed to be in the One Stop was the idea. It is not in the One Stop this year. And for further context, federal funding is very up in the air. So that, and some of the agencies that would have potentially been on our radar, like the NEA, has completely cut the Challenge America grant program. Their grants for artist projects, which has the some of the programs that we would look at have shifted focus. So they're really geared towards America 250. And like there used to be a big range of projects. And there's also been changes to some of the wording. So talking with a lot of colleagues to get information, there's been changes like the kind of the grant agreement does not actually obligate the federal government to pay you. A little bit of like, we're ready to pull back whenever we need to if you are awarded this, you have to sign that you won't count, that you have to follow executive orders and name checking things like DEI and gender ideology. So things have changed pretty dramatically in terms of the funding landscape. And then some of the state funders have also, that receive some federal funding, are also looking at what their funding looks like. So I just wanna, I think the context has changed in what we're looking at. And there's a big strike through on a lot of these lines that we used to have open for us. So I just wanna put that out there as well.
Quick question about the one-stop program. It's understand correctly that it's a consolidation of all these things just to help people see them all at one place? It's not like any kind of a grant mechanism that connects them, it's just a.
It's a portal, yeah. Yeah, so you put in one application and it's two phases as well. There's an expression of interest phase where you can get feedback on a really basic like version. That's due at the end of April.
But do you have to?
And then there's a full deadline, June 4.
Right, but is the one-stop thing allow you to put an expression of interest and have it be entertained by multiple programs? You still have to target who you, okay.
They tell you which ones you would be eligible for this project. And when you apply, you're not targeting a specific program, you're targeting a specific area of work. So
And then
if
someone on the back end
it's,
helps you figure out which program is the right.
yeah, so if it's like a feasibility study, well, given where we're at, that could be a rural development fund, that could be a housing choice, that could be underutilized properties. The same project could have been picked up by 3 different grant programs.
And so we're coming together to submit one application for Belchertown so that different groups in town aren't trying to do the same.
The town can submit, I don't know if there's an upper limit, but we'll probably, I think last year it was in the neighborhood of like 5 or something from the municipality, or that were in partnership with other entities, and that included EDIC. So there's, it's really about like the kind of project. So we want to do one kind of project that would fit into the bucket of, say, like a feasibility study, and one kind of project that would be a big infrastructure, and one kind of project that would be a technical assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they kind of differentiate it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just being clear, because there was something posted and I clicked on, all the grant opportunities coming up and stuff, and that 501c3s can apply, and so from Belchertown, but they can apply, but that doesn't run through us.
Right, hence the coordination.
Right.
Because
And same thing, I saw private entities, can do that as well. Because you did peruse and stuff like that. And given everything you just said about feasibility stuff, infrastructure, kind of that kind of thing. And I had talked with Jen Turner about, us losing the building at the state school where we were gonna have like that one, thing. And no one seems to have a thought of what other building or whatever. And so this is, could we, is it feasible to put in a grant for like a Bavarian village kind of like setup thing? Like, you know what I mean? Just having these little portable but hard structures, not easy ups, that the town can own and have them to have events and activities and stuff like that. Is that a grant that's something that could go in through that process? And then, and I know that events can't, like I was looking at it and remember the town, the school night, art night, stuff that they had? I had people lined up outside the gym on Sweet River, and parents wanting to participate, and I donated everything, but it was a lot. And for them to, do the pebble art stuff that I do was there. And he's like, are you gonna do that again? Are you gonna do that again? And I said, well, maybe, but it can't be on my dime again. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And, but it's not happening with the schools again. You know, that was a little too much on that. Is that,
So I would say, in the context of the town having a large footprint of buildings already, a lot of square footage.
right,
I think, in all honesty, it would be doubtful to put forward to purchase more square footage. Given that there are so many properties that are underutilized or unutilized at the moment. And so last year there was an award for the Tagil School to do a feasibility study.
Right.
And so that was a success. And that's something else to note is because that hasn't been fully spent down, that's now off the table as a grant program for us to go after this year. I think it was underutilized, really.
I think it would be underutilized property.
Yeah.
It was, but it might have come through the Rural Development Fund because we qualify under that. I think it was like a multi-layer.
Okay.
But I don't, just on Tagil though, it would unqualify. I don't know if it would disqualify us for just all around to go for it again though. I'd have to look into that. Specifically on Tagil, it might, yeah. I'll have to look into that.
But it might, like,
It would,
thought
of
another
course,
spot,
yeah.
Like, where, we were just talking about where Copycat was,
But-
right? On the 55 Main Street there.
Yeah, but you're right though. I'll have to look into that. to see if
so
it's
for
project
privately owned
specific, yeah.
businesses?
It's an underutilized space.
It's
right?
underutilized space.
Yeah.
But even if it's privately owned space, that
Don't think that
counts
that's
against us, because it's an empty storefront,
It doesn't
or?
have to be public owned space
Which doesn't?
to be an underutilized property.
No.
It can be any public or private, yeah.
Yeah, I think a developer in town
Yeah.
received an underutilized last year as well.
Okay. But privately owned underutilized space affects our public ability to get grants.
It's complicated because rural development, there's only one application per community, whereas some of them, it's like, there's a few that are like that, but not all of them. So there's inconsistencies across this whole thing. I know it's a kind of a messy mess, but it's, the program is, or the portal is meant to streamline it because it is so complicated. But I'm hoping tonight that we can go through and identify programs that we are already doing, that we want to see if there's a funding opportunity for. If there are programs that kind of fit within our purview that we're not doing, that we may want to see happen, or that are extensions of existing programs. So there's things like Wayfinding. We have some program around this, right? We have our design and the signage plan templates that are going to be done with Stantec. And we have our funding in place for the first phase of implement fabrication and installation. And what we've talked about as another phase of this project is the historical interpretive signage, building off of the historical commission's historic trail. What we don't have now, because of the federal funding, is a funding opportunity in the same way. So thinking through that, I don't think it's gonna come through the one stop, but we might wanna think about like Mass Humanities
I was just gonna say,
expanding.
humanities is a little bit, they're still there. I just got a nice email from them saying that we are still alive, we are still here, we are.
So this is like an example of one of the things, and then I think for like new programs, if it's like an artisan market, I think that that's something also to throw into the hopper. How that can be shaped, or if there's partnerships, and I also just want you to, maybe you two can talk offline about that, because Lisa's having conversations with other folks about artisan marketplace things.
And there's lots of them to be had, so we can talk about that. What about, and again, say no, say yes, don't care, just give me. Recall my very first question I asked, is this committee about creatives, helping creators with the economy, or is it being creative about Belchertown's economy? And Doug said both, which okay. So I think there are things we can do that don't involve programs, that don't involve other things. So like I told you about it, when I went into the building inspector, I wouldn't, it's like, okay, what does an artisan need to do, required to do? And to pop up a shed on their front lawn and sell their work. Can we make sure somehow with the strength of this committee in working with the town to say that, an artisan has the same ability as a farmer to put up a stand, a farm stand, without having to, when I approached at the size of the shed, and it was like, now this would be for arch, so it would need a great deal of space. It was, well, if you go over, like 10 by 12, you're gonna have a bathroom.
These are
Why not,
exactly.
let's make it impossible for people.
Yeah.
But this is, it's something we can do in-house. It's not a program, but it'll help an artisan.
That's the sense of program that I mean, though.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
public, it doesn't just have to be a public program. I just mean like a zoning change would be a program in terms of what I'm looking at. So if we're talking about a signage zoning change, it would be a
And
program that we would have to rally.
Updating our signage bylaws, which haven't been looked at in years. It really needs some help. But like I said, doing other things that we can just do. Just rather than waiting for the perfect space, to be available.
Yeah.
But let's do everything we can so that the individuals can create something on their own. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to coordinate it all, and do it all. And we can talk offline about some other things. But I would just like us to just consider some little things that we can do.
Yeah, those are
Within the house.
The community planning grant program would be something that might fit for like a zoning or permitting change. So it would be like a technical services person, kind of like how Stantec is helping us with the wayfinding. And they would just like zip in, understand the situation, and maybe draft something that then could be presented for discussion, approval, engagement as needed, whatever. They would structure all that. So that would be something that we could do. Similarly, MDI has technical assistance too. So those would be.
So that's more stuff with like.
That's good talking about those dots, because I think, you make a great point that you could set up things that would empower and enable and facilitate and streamline individual artists' way to do their work. And that's a huge benefit this committee could do. But I didn't understand how you got from that idea to funding to support it until you said it's a technical assistance thing. You can hire a consultant that comes in and like writes the reports that then the town players understand, sort of what they are. That can, or the select board, whoever needs to be convinced.
Or knows who that is.
Or know who that is. So it's great to have those dots connected. I think that's a really valuable approach.
Thank you.
So we've got those two. There's signage bylaws is one program idea. There's artisan.
If I can ask, how is the contractor dealing with it? Are we doing signs? Is Stantec looking at the signage bylaw? Are we talking about?
Oh, so
How's that working together?
As I understand it, the signage you're talking about is like on businesses.
Just our signage bylaws in town that,
On what businesses can put
and
up,
what businesses can
Not-
put up.
not in terms of wayfinding or
Well,
signs.
our signage bylaws are not just what, there's a bylaw about the tag sale signs,
Oh,
stapled
I would
to
think-
the telephone poles.
so
There
I
are
would,
bylaws about that.
yeah, so I would think the contractor is aware of that, or?
Yeah, so yes.
Okay.
And that's part, yes, is the short answer. Yeah. So we've got, I'm sorry, I'm just aware of the time and I want to make sure that we can kind of get to more of these as well. So there's signage bylaws, artisan pop-ups, having the same kind of right to purpose or a business as a farm stand. In terms of our programs that we already have, we have Viewfinder, and I would love to kind of take the temperature and assess for how we might want to support that moving forward.
What is Viewfinder again?
Is the nature photography program.
Oh, okay.
And then we have we have generally that we're doing events marketing. So last year we tried to support conservation, McPherson and Lake Wallace around the spring outside and Earth Day, Arbor Day activities. Limited success, but just as a general thing.
So you can use funds for marketing purposes?
Well, I think in this conversation, because of the scope of it, I mean, there is the Mass Office of Outdoor Recreation, there's MOT, the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism. So we would start by looking at One Stop, but I think what this meeting could potentially be more inclusive of our kinds of other programs, because we could also be looking at, MCC, Mass.
Those are coming up soon.
And they're coming up very soon. Yeah, I think it's April 30th.
Yeah. Typically it's April to May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think typically April to May, right? For the MCC.
It's April 30th is the deadline for the creative experiences.
Oh, creative experience is I'm thinking of festival and projects, yeah.
Well, they've merged festivals and projects now
with
the school. And it's either 2,500 or 5,000.
There's an info session for that one on Thursday as well, for the creative experiences for the Mass Cultural Council.
Is it with One Stop or is it?
No, this is separate, this is just a different one.
And I'm sorry, I'm bringing in other ones because part of what happens in this meeting is to be like, oh, you're gonna be doing this, maybe you wanna, it could be a one-stop grant, or it could be a preservation grant given you're a nonprofit. There were a lot of opportunities for exchange, so I think it would be great, not only for this one-stop program, but using this meeting as a moment for us to check in on what are our program priorities and thinking about how that connects with fund, because we're getting into like hop-in fundraising, like grant writing season.
Okay. Well, and I mean, we have a food truck event, but I feel like that doesn't necessarily need another grant. I mean, we wouldn't exclude it necessarily, but it's sort of breaking even and we get some funding from the town to support the musicians. So, I wouldn't say it's in dire need of funds in order to keep going. And sort of the same thing with Winter Light Night. What we need is more volunteers and for people to help on the ground, more than we need money, because we get good sponsorships, and I feel like that's pretty well established in town. I don't know if there's the story walk could use. I know like some of the materials were disintegrating. The story walk at Lake Wallace, and in the past we did an art walk through the BCC, but I wasn't part of that, so I'm not really sure what was involved.
The Story Walk has a chunk of funds through BCA too, so that's all part of this transition of BCA kind of maybe trying to be in the process of shutting down, or if somebody is going to be taking it over, and who will be taking over officially being kind of gifted that story trail, because it has supportive fundings to keep it going, so that has dedicated money for that. It's just who will fully own that and take it on.
And
I have a box of materials that we've been working to unfortunately try to coordinate, sadly, to get that up and running. Yeah. So that is a need of capacity and persons to help get that across the finish line, but that has a chunk of funds sitting there waiting to help that. Absolutely.
Is the rest of the sculpture trail?
Well, I mean, we could build more benches, right? We need a lot of benches.
I think this is great. We can have a big list. We're not gonna get everything funded like
What about
tomorrow.
like informational kiosks around Lake Wallace, like printed materials, and we had talked about that.
Yeah, by the pocket park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We've
Pocket
talked about
park
doing
is
a free little library. I know there's not,
Yeah.
different ways of doing that. Somebody, I think from BCC was gonna look into it, but putting that over by the pocket park.
At one point we talked about doing like a small little like amphitheater idea, like having like an outdoor classroom amphitheater.
Yeah, Kyle wants to do that, I think,
Yeah.
with some of the materials that are still over there.
He applied for T-Mobile
Yeah.
grant. I don't think
I
you heard
remember
about it yet.
Yeah, I remember he was applying for that.
In the community gardens. One's up at Stoke River, Pollinator Garden, Nesby, McPherson, something collaborative with all the gardens in town maybe.
They used to, a long time ago, used to do garden walks.
Tours.
And the skate park jam and the
My
graffiti
house has been on
jam.
that garden.
CD
I
has
know,
graffiti
and I
jam
can't
been talked
admit.
about?
I know.
No,
And it's,
I know BCA was the,
Yeah.
yeah, we funded it partially through a grant, and Audrey sort of ran that,
Yeah.
and so she didn't apply.
okay.
So that's not
So
happening. as far
graffiti
as-
jam isn't happening this year?
No.
Okay.
And with that too, then is, well, related is that the skate park surface it needs like a redo to be more effective, or I don't know,
Smoother, better.
New paving.
Yeah, it needs like resurfacing to be more usable for people who really skateboard.
Is that rec department too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, that would be Kyle to promote, but if we're just like, we're supporters,
Yeah,
we see this as an opportunity, it's activation of public space in this hub that's within the forthcoming cultural district, we wanna throw some like support behind that, we would be happy to write a letter of support, or like commit X volunteer hours, or whatever, like we wanna offer in to help support that kind of effort.
Is there anything with like the maintenance for the mural project, the container murals, or anything to like keep that going?
We don't, part of our contract is that it has to be temporary. So that the pilot project is, doesn't contain maintenance funds.
Okay, and we don't want it to, or we can't.
It's within our agreement that it is temporary.
To go back to Food Truck Fridays though, I do feel like many of the people that perform are not really getting paid.
What do you mean?
Aren't we only giving them $100 or $200 to a band, or has that changed? Unless they apply for a grant directly through the BCC,
Yeah,
I thought they
I
only
don't-
got a couple $100 at the most.
I don't know exactly what is being paid, so, I mean,
You're
yeah,
artists, and
equity for the artist. would be good. More money
if
to
a
give
band
them.
of 5 people show up, I think they should get more than $200 to divide amongst themselves.
Mhm.
But because we haven't had money in the past, and some of them just say, don't worry about it, we're just doing it for fun, you don't have to pay us. But it would be, possibly, it would be nice if we could say, let's give a band $1,000 for,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, so.
I don't know exactly what we've been paying.
I think the only time they get paid well is if they apply
Apply
for
for
a
a
BCC grant for the food truck.
Okay, so it should be a little bit more equitable.
Like, I know I'm working with the team band right now, and they're expecting to make like $100.
To split.
Yeah,
Yeah.
between the 4 of them.
Okay, so.
Plus the adults that have to send equipment. and,
Yeah.
What about equipment? What about, is
Yeah,
there a
that's
way to
what I-
get grant money to have better equipment?
We don't
Because
have
it's
any
always
equipment. I
great.
actually
There
am
is
waiting,
none.
the BCTV, I was hoping we could borrow theirs because we don't have anything to use. So, good point.
So I think there
There's
could be
stuff we
some things
need.
for Food Truck Friday that could add to it.
That could help,
So-
yeah, for sure.
Could part of our planning on this, like looking at how we're looking at this, getting funding for grants and everything, because we have all these little houses that have their own events that look for their own things. So could part of our planning strategy of looking at technical assistance or anything could be really looking at how to create that outreach structure and how to create kind of the baseline of because I know we have BCTV. I know we have a lot of new people that are not new, but people coming on board to help create calendar of events, to help create all these streamlined things. But this sounds like we could also help look for grants to then provide technical assistance to these areas of saying, hey, this grant cycle's coming up. Here's funding sources for it, or artisans. Here's your locations for this, and kind of try to be that economic driver of the hub to say,
You know,
here
to say,
is this
is what we're
document.
doing, What do you wanna do and how can we help?
Because here's this document of kind of being that, like the cultural district, people that are gonna be controlling that is the helper of that hub. So looking at the planning piece of this or the technical to figure out how could we get more funding to keep putting that piece of it together too. So I know in your planning grants and everything, they have these strategic plans and they have, some of them include the doing part, like we did with the MDI with the wayfinding and branding. But how do we take that to our cultural vitality, to the economic development of our cultural community?
Yeah. Well, can I circle back to one thing? Did they define temporary? Like temporary, so not 10 pounds.
Temporary, can we make this?
All right, is there a definition for
Yeah, they had said 18 months. There's ish around that.
So if it doesn't wear off in 18 months, we have to take it off?
No, I think if it still looks good, it was around like ensuring the integrity of the artwork.
Of the artwork, yeah, because you don't want it
Makes
peeling and,
sense.
deface
Yeah.
mural.
And for their part, I think it's a smart move, because this is for, the municipality is for piloting new public art programs, so it's a learning process.
I'm curious.
And then
See if they define it.
Yeah.
So.
And I know we lost our one stop, like you said, the one stop that funded the big mural on 6 and that did a lot of this placemaking, like those little artist lofts you talked about. That was what that was perfect for. Yeah. But it'd be interesting to look into and see if we can find what kind of replaced that in the larger art installation type public art world.
Yeah, because the murals are still going up in Holyoke and Springfield, so
Yeah.
where are they?
I'm sorry we're coming late to this conversation, but I want to come back to what you were saying earlier about the support for individual artists. And maybe going around the block about this, or at least forgive me if I'm asking something you already covered, but what about like artist space and things? I know you've done some of this, and so pardon me again, but what else can we think about in those terms, whether it's space or shared space or resources or technical assistance of the kind that maybe you were just describing?
Well, yeah, like I wrote down re-granting, technical assistance, like those things, because we did some of this research with Gather when we were looking at some of the Gather materials. We have a ton of research on it, we have a ton of materials on it, because it's always been a need in our town to have a centralized community hub.
Actually,
Yeah.
Whatever happened with what was gonna be, the American Legion moved out?
Yeah.
That's that.
What happened with that?
Yeah, there was like changes to how long they were gonna hold on to the space, and in that time frame is when like the negotiations around 6 were happening.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know, is that space still even,
Jen and I went
Did
there
you?
last week.
is it vacant yet?
It is vacant.
It is vacant, and I
It's
think
in
you
the
use
vacant
it through the rec department.
Yeah. if you
So
want-
it is just
It's a
rec
room
department.
over behind the senior center. It's
Yeah,
about the same, if you know the rec department's back room where they do yoga and martial arts and all of that, they have a big open room. This other room is right across the road from it, and it's basically the same size.
it's about the same landscape. Yeah, there's a sign out front. It says
Yeah,
American Legion.
American Legion,
Yeah, and they just repainted
It's right
it.
near
It's
the
white.
thrift
If you
store.
do
And
want
they
to use
moved
the
out.
space,
American Legion.
Yeah,
you
it's an empty
rent
space
it
for a
through
while.
the rec department.
Oh.
Jen and I actually met the owner of Feel Good Shop Local.
Great.
I think you were.
It's basically like Western Mass Etsy.
Mhm.
She has a website for art.
She's not Western Mass Etsy.
No. Okay.
She's not. That is, a lot of that stuff is manufactured and purchased and being resold. It's not like home good, it's
Okay.
not. I know, I've been through
You've been
the
through
process
See, you
and
need to
seen
sit down and
their
talk.
things.
Yeah.
So it's not Etsy.
Okay.
Are they local people selling stuff? Yes, they're local people selling stuff. Some people create it themselves. Most do not.
Okay.
Well, which is why they can be at the big eight.
Right, yeah, so,
Because, you know, it's not somebody working for a year.
yeah,
You know, in their studio, you know, or whatever, you know, to have the inventory, or
Right.
paintings, or crocheted stuff. That is not what it is, but right now, they're in Boston.
right, so Jen and I met with her last week, and we showed her the American Legion space, and we walked through the rec department, because we have been talking about how to create a pop-up space for Belchertown artisans, makers, producers, cottage bakers, and really trying to elevate, support, and highlight all the amazing producers that we have in our community. So we talked with her, and it was a good conversation. It was nice to, you know, have someone from the outside kind of framing for us, like, how would this be any different than any other pop-up, and what are you going to do to make people want to come to Belchertown for a day for this type of event? So what you will be seeing from me soon is a open call for artisans. So what I'm trying to do is create a database of all of the producers in town, so that way we'll have a centralized location, in the hopes that something like this will come to fruition down the road.
What are
Partner
some,
people
do.
Yes,
Better.
yes.
that's where we got all of our,
Yeah, that's where we got all our ideas. and
Yeah.
that's it, Yeah, and there are a couple, like, we've got, like, Belchertown alignable. That
See,
is,
these are the types of things I'm still learning.
right, so
So-
that, alignable's an organization that's everywhere, but already, you know, like, business owners and artisans and potters and cottage bakers there signing, because it's meant to be,
Yeah.
you know, communal, like,
Yeah.
putting people in touch with each other.
And the long-term goal is to have a space for this kind of stuff to live,
Mhm.
you know, to make it accessible for people who are having events and trying to organize, to be able to see who might be interested and are available, and are like potential partnerships too, like who could we partner with in town to make this come to life.
So one of the people I would suggest is Wayne Buxton.
Yeah, we should talk.
Yeah.
do you have the list of the winter light night?
I got it
Okay,
from, I haven't gone through it yet, but I
You
have,
have
I
it,
have
the
it.
list.
I have it.
And are we requiring that it's like a Belchertown based person, artist, maker?
I mean, I think that was
To
our
start?
original intention,
Okay.
to start, yeah, just thinking of Belchertown.
Did you receive all the gather information? Do you
Not
have
yet.
any of it?
I have, no, I
Okay.
just have what's like available online. Oh, maybe I do, no, I do,
So I was
I
gonna
do
say,
from
Maud
you,
had
it's in the
most of
shared
it.
drive.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
Maud should
absolutely
have
do.
all of it, yeah.
100%
Yeah.
have it in the shared drive.
Yeah, because there was a lot done during that on
Yes,
all of
I
this.
do.
But again, that kind of makes me think about this, like, okay, so then do we help create this almost like, I work in the world of bids, RFPs and everything, RFQs and all that, like, are we almost thinking that our time could be used good to create almost a feasibility study on how and create a proposal on kind of how to run this to then help attract, because it's always the biggest problem we've always had with getting this to go is somebody to run it. So then is this a way we could use all this info to then create a proposal to start marketing to other makers or other like larger groups that could have capacity to then step in and kind of be, so like a sales pitch essentially, yeah. Okay.
I feel like that would be, Sarah, I just want to say, I feel like that's really valuable, and we had a conversation with folks over Bombix, and, you know, I mean, there's people that, it's just not enough information to go on.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's people that have networks, and they have boards, and they are interested in expanding and doing other things, but they need a prospectus. You know, they need something more tangible than just a very productive, but still a conversation, right? You know, so I think it would be a good use of resources.
We have a market study for you. We have how much it would cost to have this big of a space in our town, and here's the list of vendors that would then supply you with their goods. To then say it's a low risk for you to then take this space, like you would for a business, but just for artists. Yeah.
That's like an arts-based prospectus.
Yeah, I feel like that would be calling to our building up our local economy piece,
Yeah, because that is now, you have to have a lot of energy just to figure out what the opportunities.
So much work to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
And I know
noting
to be
this
mindful of time.
market study on artisans, like artisan market kind of opportunity.
Well, not just
Yeah,
artists,
cultural-
but art space
yeah.
perspectives, like what
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
kinds of spaces where you could do a gallery or do an
Yeah.
artisan market or do a X, Y.
I mean, like what would
right?
work? What would
Well-
actually work with the Belchertown
Right, with the
populace?
spaces we have, like, there's
Yeah.
all these spaces and whatnot, but this, again, it's like
Yeah.
so much activation energy to get from my interest to what can I even do here, because all the information is scattered everywhere. If it could be consolidated and broken down and chunked up in a way that describe different opportunities, and you might get people with actual resources to respond.
Yeah.
A market study for this, I think, would feed into Tagil really nicely,
Yeah.
because Tagil, I think, is that
We're trying
opportunity
to
space.
That maker space.
Yeah.
Is kind of how we envisioned it to be, right? Like to have workshops.
Yeah, I think compiling something like this could really help bolster the eventual sale or eventual rental, whatever happens with Tagil. I think it could help bolster something like that, but I'd want to be careful, and this is because of the burnt that happened to BCA, is to not tie this to a building.
Yeah.
To make sure this is a perspective study of various sizes. You can have a chart, you can have charts in there based off of this square footage, this square footage, this square footage, where are your factors, where's your bottom line, what capacity would this work on? But I think that could really help with attracting someone like a Workshop 13, like an Artery, somebody to say, hey, Belchertown has an open market for this.
So it happened in.
Maybe even help our groups, our QAA. We have QAA in town already that is an art group that they're active. Maybe even help find partnerships for them to then help create what they want to do, make their piece a reality. Yeah. Yeah. And even part of that study could be identifying those big players, not big players, but big in the artist world in our local Western Mass side, but identifying individuals that could be approached, that could have capacity or similar markets of, this is the style of group that could have a capacity to help. Yeah.
So it's working, if you need another example, right, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I grew up, they have the steel stacks.
Mhm.
So what used to be the steel foundry, they now have Arts Quest, Banana Factory, they've got event space, it's all down there. So if you look up steel stacks, you'll see it's like everything that we would think of. And they took a space like we have at the state school and they made it everything that we've been talking about. It took a long time.
I know that is when EDIC was formed.
Yeah.
There were two different focus groups, and the only rule is that focus groups couldn't talk to each other. Because they wanted completely different
We have their
ideas.
plans.
They wanted completely different ideas. The focus groups, that went in, and one decidedly went the agriculture way.
Yeah.
And another was like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if there was like a white flower farm here? Which EDIC killed because, that would be chapter 61 and we wouldn't get any tax money. Yeah, but you would, from everything that would pop up around it and feed it, and tourism, and those kinds of things, feeding it. So there's so many ideas that are in there. The other one was, artisans, music, everything else. At the time, we were trying to get the music over at the state school, which ended up in Lenox, go figure. But still.
We've had conversations with the chamber too around similar ideas where we can connect agriculture with cultural work, with things like food tours where, you lead into the experience part of it so much. There are plenty of examples of like ag tours that have like art or like a sculpture trail and it's up for like a month and it's people eat and they explore and they get to know the place. Yeah, there's just a lot of opportunity. And for kind of like highlighting local assets and bringing folks to kind of activate them through tourism and like you're saying, like all these other things that would crop up around it.
Yeah, and again, getting the EDIC to be a little more flexible on their process would be wonderful. I mean, you should not have to fill out a 30-page interest thing to just have a conversation with somebody. But you have to. There, which is sad.
Well, that's another technical assistance kind of.
Yeah.
Technical assistance.
I'm learning to have things connect.
Yeah.
So people that have creative ideas that are never gonna fill out a 30-page application.
Yeah.
Could actually get access to a real conversation about this possibility.
Which is just us making in-house changes.
But there's a lot of value to the person from out of town with a briefcase that comes in and says, well, here's how you do it.
Yeah.
And you-
If you notice, all the arts and culture grants are a lot smaller than the technical grants when you go for infrastructure and everything.
I need to leave, so can somebody else
Yes.
take over being the minute?
I can take over from, do you want me to continue?
I can
take
keep,
over.
like,
I'll take
write
over
up my
from the
notes.
container. I got it. Thank you. We'll compare after.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Cindy. I know this was a hefty
Yeah.
topic to have in the middle of the agenda. Okay.
There's one more that I wanted to throw in the hopper, which is doing another edition, grant edition of the farm guide. We did it earlier in the year, because our one last year, because it was our first one. that
It was awesome, but it came out a little late.
Yeah. It took us a lot of months to get that together. We had started it in like fall 23, so that it took us almost a full year. But I think we're in really good shape now for that to happen, during the growing season, when people are gonna use it.
And a couple of people have asked me if we could suggest that we do the same thing like studio tour,
Absolutely. The hope is that framework can be used in a lot of different places. We can use that for these are all these hiking trails. These are all we could use that same framework of interactive map, searchable by, types of amenity for so many different things.
We have a platform for that.
I was gonna say, we
I
have
have a
the
platform for
design.
that. I haven't put it on our agenda to see if it will be on the agenda once it's
Oh,
released
okay.
to then add to it, yeah.
Yep.
There's an app for that. Any further grant opportunities discussion currently? Okay, so right now, I know Maud has a meeting this Thursday, I believe, to talk about the one-stop specific. But then we have a little bit of a timeline to be able to continue talks. We'll be really tight during the April meeting for the MCC one, right? You said April 30th?
Yeah, that's April 30th.
Okay.
But those ones are really fast.
Yeah, those are short. Those are super short. Okay, so April 30th, I'll keep this on and then we can kind of hone it in a little bit for those that MCC, if that's that next. I gotta check Mass Humanities grant deadlines and everything, but
It's
for
in
anything like
June.
that, I think those start in the
Yeah,
summer.
they just announced it
Yeah.
yesterday or today.
Yes,
June 9th.
Okay.
I think I just wrote that down somewhere.
Okay, so would it help?
I knew June.
Would it help for the next agenda if I put underneath grant opportunities, list out the ones that I'm aware of, working with you both, what you've identified already, so we have the specific names of grants on the agenda, so then we can just put notes to see those, so we don't.
I can work, so now that the town has a grants manager.
Yeah.
I can work with Allison.
Yeah.
I've been collaborating with her on developing the arts and culture side of her grants calendar.
Okay.
We're in a unique position in that our kind of scope encompasses not just municipal entities, but highlighting cultural work in town, period. So we have a kind of different scope. So figuring out how we collaborate between municipal entities and organizations is, I think, the key piece here. Because I think it's important for us to make sure that other entities in town know about these opportunities as well. And that we have similarly opportunities to connect and collaborate where that makes sense. And also to make sure that we're not competing with each other on things where we're doing the same work.
Yeah, that's the part I'm a little like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do now, because if there's things in there that would be appropriate for Food Truck Friday, should the BCC go ahead, or do we need to like run this through somebody and make sure we're not stepping on toes, or like, who's responsible, I guess, is the question.
We could talk about convening another kind of like grant palooza. Like,
Is that what we're
but it's
doing
more like-
Thursday? I got invited to like an 1.5-hour meeting. I don't really
Yeah, that
know.
was one stop.
Just
focus.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
I'm going to that too.
I think I'll go.
there will be like DPW and planning and rec and conservation that are gonna have claims already on some things. So we're not gonna get all of this,
Yeah.
right? But if there are things that we're interested in supporting other departmental efforts around like resurfacing the skate park, or if there are things that our work is like a value add to something else that's already happening, or if it's an extension of a program that we've already invested in, I think those are gonna have a little bit more traction. But I do think it's really important to lift all of these so that they're in the ears of folks who are gonna be thinking about this. And there might be some potential action that can be done even without a technical assistance. Maybe there's someone in the building with that technical expertise already. It's not me.
All right. Any further discussion on grant opportunities?
Well, I'm sorry, at the beginning of that was a pitch that we do a collaborative meeting with other
Okay.
groups outside of town. Not outside in town, outside of town. Like outside of this building.
Outside of this committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of this committee,
Yeah,
within
and
town
municipal,
organizations,
yeah.
all, yeah. I mean, the best
Well, that
time
first
for
you gotta
that.
gauge interest in
Yeah.
and participating before you go ahead and schedule it. So that would be communications going in, similar to what how can we help you, what do you, this stuff. So in that call, if you will, does that seem like the right time to then, if you want to schedule a meeting before you know what's coming, right?
I didn't quite track what.
If you want outside groups that are, like not sitting in the room.
I can email them.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get a sense of, does that seem like the right move?
I think that would help like the BCC, where
Yeah.
nobody on the committee is going to be like jumping and doing grants, but maybe we should be, and
So
or
I-
somebody is doing one and I have no idea, and then we're interfering with what else
Yeah.
is being done.
Would this be pushing from us, or would this be working with the grant writer in
Right.
town, like pushing this? That's what yeah.
This would be us, because
Yeah.
her role is really for municipal entities. So this would be us in our role for creative economy, which is encompassing more broadly, to facilitate it. We're not on the hook for writing anyone's grants except our own.
Yeah.
It would be around facilitating and maybe coordinating. That's all I would take responsibility for.
It would just be bringing everybody together to, make sure they know what's out there and make sure nobody's double.
Define everybody.
So
Yeah.
all of
that's-
those stakeholders that we listed in our, right, so history and every other,
So does this include all of the random 501c3s and?
Yes.
That's what it's
Yes.
saying.
yes.
So we gotta,
So everybody that we listed on our charge, right, that we wanted to include as stakeholders should be included in knowing what the grant opportunities are. Historical Commission tried to apply for 10 years ago, tried to apply for a trails grant, right? And not knowing that Nesby was applying for the same grant. That shouldn't happen, right? Like, we should all know what we're kind of all going for, what our mission is, where we're headed.
But we can do email invites and also shoot it out broad on social media, like, is this you? Because you're right, there's inevitably, like, people will fall through the cracks.
Yeah. Is this you, like, do you apply for or need funding for X?
What would be a timeline? Because this sounds like it's more of would we be going about this in an educational standpoint of saying, hey,
facilitator.
here's grants we've identified or are identified that support who we support, and then hearing those individuals saying back to us? I'm just thinking logistically, kind of the timeline of setting up
what the meeting would be in a sense, if that does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it would be similar to this one-stop conversation where we can kind of, I can send out a list tomorrow of like, what are the grants on our radar? And it's on people to investigate them themselves, I think. And.
But are we inviting people to come and talk about the list that you put forward? Or are we inviting, if you say, if there's the grants, we send it out, we say, these are the grants we want to talk about, if you're interested, come talk to us. One angle, or we say, what are you working on?
Yes.
Come talk to us about what you're working on to see if there's any intersection with that.
Yes, I think that's the thing, like, to come forward with actual projects.
Grant networking event.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Are you working on?
Granting after dark.
Yeah, we don't want to,
Yes.
not positioning it as though like, here, we're here to
Because
help you
that's
with your
what I
grants,
want to be
because-
careful with. Yeah, that's why I'm asking that question, because I've learned very quickly in what I do now that the second you tell somebody you've identified a grant, they go, hey, when are you writing that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
this is definitely,
so
we're
networking.
facilitating a conversation so that people
Yeah.
can coordinate their own
Yes.
applications.
Okay, so like a grant networking,
Yeah, so
we're
you're
coming
gonna
together
come
to
together
talk
with people, see
ideas,
if there's opportunity for
see if you two can go write your grant together and be happy and skip off. Yes, okay. So okay.
I can see this happening early April.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about
That's okay, I have
timelines,
to ask soon.
timelines of everybody's getting in the crazy grant writing season if they're not already in it.
Yeah.
And then your next cycle used to be October time, but I have to look at the landscape of what's even out
Actually, I
there
think it
for-
starts a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah.
It's like some stuff is August.
Yes,
honestly, so it's
MCC
like
has a few big ones
August,
in,
September,
yeah.
October.
Okay,
So because of where the first of April is a Tuesday, so our creative economy meeting is now pushed back to the 14th. We're on second Mondays.
okay.
So it's a little later in the month. Maybe in that second week of April, the week before our meeting would be a good week to have this date. Like the week of the 7th.
Do we need to consider, because I guess us as a committee quorum at all, as long as we don't directly discuss anything.
We'd be talking about
Think-
committee business. I think
Yeah.
we would have to post it and officially have it as a committee
That's
meeting
what I'm
for-
meaning of, do we want this to just be our April meeting?
Just have it be a focus meeting.
But I don't know if that will take away from other updates. I know we've gotten pretty long right now, and we haven't touched on our updates of our current projects that are open.
we wouldn't want to wait to do this until the 14th either.
Yeah. I mean,
Why
the
would we-
30th, yeah, that would,
Yeah, it would just be a special meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Like
you
the
can
week of
still
the
make sure
31st
there's
or
not a
something.
quorum there and you don't have to worry about it. It's just an informational thing.
Yeah, if there isn't quorum, but I think we're likely to have quorum there.
Yeah.
And we should err on the side of.
So we just
And
have to
post it,
post.
right? Like, yeah, we post it as a special meeting and we make sure that,
Yeah, the week of March 31st or April 7th.
Yeah. I would think the sooner the better, like unless we need more time to get ready.
I think the week of March 31st may be better if it's seems emptier somehow.
Mine at night. This morning was the first Monday, it wasn't a holiday in 52 years, I didn't go to work. Retired, I retired.
You retired.
Congratulations.
Sleep in on
Yeah. You think I did not get up at 5:45 this morning? I didn't.
Are we deciding?
Do
on
we
a
need
date?
do we need to check for space availability?
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah, always.
Okay, so but the week of the 31st is what we're shooting for.
Is what,
Space
The
available.
evening of the 1st, is the BCC meeting,
yeah,
Okay.
so.
have that stuff still in the calendar.
You can come anytime. Still the
I
same.
don't think there's any way to erase it. Sarah.
It'll just stay in there forever.
Cool. These are really great projects. I know this was a big conversation, but I think it's great for us to think really big picture so that we can start to like plot this stuff out and strategize and figure out our future and what else we're doing next. Because I know I brought some things into this committee that were in development already, but I think it's great for you all to like own stuff moving forward.
Where we go.
Okay. We need no motions or anything, so we're not picking a certain date or anything. This will be okay.
And we can schedule it.
And we're gonna just schedule this meeting as you would schedule. Okay. Any further grant opportunities discussion? All right.
Yes, but not right now.
Write it in the notes. Oh, I'm taking the notes now. Okay. Oh, watch out, everybody. All right.
After some discussion.
After some discussion, the notes started going downhill when Cindy said that Cindy had to leave for the evening. Apologies in advance. I got distracted. It's the reason I don't take the notes. All right. Container mural. So we'll keep these updates very brief. So container mural update.
The designs were all enthusiastically approved last Monday. It was fantastic. The coordinating with the artist to gather paint and sundry needs to put together a coordinated order, and connecting with Linda to make sure that we can get the timing and all of the logistics coordinated to get all of those materials plus all of the materials that DPW is going to need for the priming and all of that. So that, because it's going to go boom, 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 boom really quickly. And then in that vein as well, we're talking with Melissa about scheduling community paint day. And, I had this up and then I looked somewhere else in my email. We were looking in April, I think it was the 21st, 22nd.
Patriots Day weekend.
Okay.
Oh, for the paint day?
Yeah, because they would be closed Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
April,
Lake Wallace.
what did you say, April 21st? So right after April break?
Right,
That would-
yeah.
oh, that'd be
Nice and
great.
shiny for Earth
That'd
Day.
be great to have it ready for Earth Day.
Yeah. So it seems like those are dates that are working for Linda, Linda's team, and for Melissa. And I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any like no conflicts within this group.
Well, that is school vacation week, so what we're running into in parent world is that so many people are out of town. Like, I'll be out of town, lots of people will be not here. So if you do any public event that week, can't count on kids.
Okay.
It's a big vacation week. I know that's the trouble they had with the Earth Day celebrations last year. And like scouts were trying to do a bottle and can drive that weekend and they don't have any parents or kids to volunteer. So.
So school break is the week of the 21st?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts
that
Friday.
The 18th.
It is, although I will say that the library is holding 2 programs and they're already like filling up.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, a lot of people go away, but there's also other
There's
people that have
other
nothing to
people.
do that are looking for things. So it varies. We don't tend to run as many programs at the library during April vacation because even when people sign up, if the weather is nice,
Yeah.
other things can call.
Yes.
So
It always depends.
it's always hard to know when most people are gonna be around, but.
Yeah.
So that's the up and the down of that, and working on a credit block for acknowledging the muralists and community participants, funders.
Can I add in, I really need a date for this,
Yeah.
for the community paint. I am trying to use that date and backtracking and how I get these containers primed. And to be honest with you, moving containers around and trying to get them taken care of and get my staff, available is turning into quite a process. So the sooner I can get a paint date, because it's not just the paint date, but it's Melissa getting in there and getting her mural started, which means I need to have it primed you know, before that. So right now I'm looking at priming 1 or 2 the first week in April. April 7th is the first full week. You know, I know we needed to prime as close to the artists getting access, but it's becoming logistically difficult. One thing I did explore was I could rent. So there's the 2 compactors, which we only have one of. It's the plastic and the cardboard ones. I could rent those containers and get the ones that we're going to mural over to my garage and get those, you know, sanded and primed. But that's an additional cost. I have to get the current container. So the current container we're using to haul trash, we have another container. It has a busted top. So I'm getting that brought over tomorrow, and my mechanic is going to weld it. So there's just a lot of moving parts, and I do not want to be the one that holds up a date. So I really need a paint date, and I really need to know when Melissa needs to get in there to start her mural. I'm assuming she's the first artist to get in there, but you know, we have 2 others too. So I'm starting to get a little, it's, you know, nitty gritty's happening here.
Yeah. So if that weekend sounds good, if we can make that agreement here, it looks like it works for Melissa, and then we can just like go on getting those materials for your team so that you can go. Does that sound good?
So we also, and Maude, we can do this offline, but I need to understand the primer requirements. You know, if there's anything specific, I'll see you Thursday. We can talk then, but yeah, there's a bunch of details I need to work out.
Perfect. Yeah. So we'll connect on Thursday with the primer. Okay.
So the tentative date that Melissa's confirmed that we're all like penciling in is April.
It's April
19, 20, Easter weekend.
On Easter?
No,
the Monday. You said the Monday or Tuesday because they'll be closed.
Okay, so I see, sorry.
So I think it was the 20th, no, I'm sorry, not the 20th.
Yeah, the 20th is Easter.
Okay, Monday.
22nd.
Okay. Not weekend, I thought someone said weekend, okay.
I think she did mention that whole weekend.
Yeah.
But she might not have realized it was Easter.
Well,
but I think she said the 19th through the 22nd were good for her.
Because, and she needs to get in there first to prep it and draw everything in, so.
Maybe she goes the 19th and the paint day's the 22nd, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think, so I'd love to shoot for the 21st for the paint day, so Monday the 21st, and have the 22nd as our rain date.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound?
Cool. Are we talking about afternoon, evening time? What are we aiming for? Because even though Monday is a holiday, it's only a Massachusetts holiday. There's going to be a lot of people that still have to work that day.
Working.
Yeah. So it's not a huge Monday holiday as far as, and with it being vacation week, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards afternoon, evening time because working families might have a better chance of being able to get there and participate.
Yeah. Well, then let's look at the 19th instead, maybe. Because we're also daylight is important for this.
Yeah.
And time to clean up afterwards.
So the Saturday before Easter. You may compete with
Well,
Easter
we're doing. Are we doing 3 different times? I thought that originally we said we'd do about 20 people at a time. So like, I'm throwing these out there. 3 to 4 would be one group, 4:30 to 5:30 would be another group, whatever. You know, like, so are we looking at like 3 different hours of people?
Some number of hours. I think we'd have to.
Not everybody at once is what I'm saying. People will sign up for a certain time.
Yes.
So
I just
Saturday,
think afternoon and evening would be better than morning if we're looking at that Monday.
Yeah.
the transfer station is open on Saturdays.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Including the 19th.
Yes.
Yeah, so Melissa's gonna need to get in there and get herself ready while the station is open during that whole previous week, which means she'd have to be there in the after hours. It's feasible, but it's not ideal.
For her, being there after hours is better because if it's dark, she can project onto the container to do the outline.
Okay, I just need to know when she's there, obviously.
Yeah, sorry, I can.
They close at 3:15.
Yes, okay.
So, I mean, there's daylight still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get dark now until 7. I was paying attention tonight for pickleball purposes. And it'll get later and later.
Yeah, so we'll need to coordinate with you, Linda, for all of them, because I think that for all 3 of them, that was the plan, was to be able to come in the evening to paint out the outline using the projector.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, there's just a lot of details we need to work out here.
Yeah.
Let's schedule a follow-up meeting of our group, if that works. Okay, so April the 21st, and we're talking about PM. Yes? I think just for the sake of being extra certain we're following process, maybe we'll make a motion.
Yeah, so the motion is to have, all right, so let's see what the motion will be. We make a motion to host the Community Paint Day on April 21st. The Container Mural Project Subcommittee will meet to determine details.
Yeah, working group.
Second
Working
that
group,
motion.
thank you. Working group will meet to firm up details with Linda. Second? Second. You gotta repeat the whole motion. I'm kidding. All in favor? Aye, I have to too. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. I did not, we're good. Motion passes. I can't take notes and do it at the same time, my gosh.
Well, next is the cultural district update. I'm just gonna really quickly blast through one piece of it, and you have another piece of it. And one is that.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Linda.
We recently found out that, got an update on the timeline from the Mass Cultural Council that they are not expecting to open the cultural district application by end of fiscal, but they plan to have the application details available end of fiscal and to open it early fiscal 26. So that changes things pretty significantly for us because the process includes them having us getting in an application, it getting reviewed, scheduling a site visit. They do not offer site visits over the winter months. And they're going to be looking at a backlog of over a year and a half. And there were somewhere in the neighborhood of like 35, 50 applications in the pipeline like us when they closed. So scheduling a site visit over that winter is going to be dicey. And then after getting a site visit, you get recommendations in a report, you respond to them. And once you respond to them and get staff approval and support, then you go to the board to get your final designation. The board meets twice a year, in March and in August. So in all likelihood, we would not make the soonest, if the stars aligned, would be March 26th. In all likelihood, it could be August 26th. And that is after Lisa's contract is ended, my contract is ended. It's further down the road than any of us expected in this very long journey that was 6 to 8 months. So that's just that piece of the update.
Yep. I've been meeting with lots of different groups and people, met with Louise about Lake Wallace, Recreation Department, library, pollinator gardens, school gardens, just breezing through this. And one common theme that keeps coming up in all of these conversations is volunteerism and needing people in the community to recognize how important it is to be involved. So in addition to the call for artisans, I'm going to be doing a call for groups that are looking for help. I'm going to be doing, well, we know the municipal groups that need people to step up because they're all posted on the town website. So that will be one piece of it. And then I'm going to be looking for community groups as well that are looking for volunteers. And again, hoping to create some form of database. So I know I have kids who want to get involved and volunteer in the community, and so not always easy to know where to go. So someone asked me the other day about where do I go to volunteer at Jessica's playground. It's like, I don't know where that information lives. So if we could create it and get the community engaged in different aspects, I think that would be really beneficial. So that's something I'm working on. Where else am I? I attended the BCC grant reception at the Lacey Rose, which was lovely. I've never been in there before, and it was definitely a treat for the eyes. Yeah, it was really great and great to connect with people too. On Wednesday, everybody doesn't know, there's that After 5 in collaboration with the Amherst Chamber of Commerce happening at Tables on the Green, which is the new restaurant opening at Cold Spring.
That's Wednesday.
Wednesday, 5 to 7. Yeah, there's
I wanted to talk about that.
yeah, there's a link to register. Maude had posted it on the Creative Economy Facebook page. It's making its rounds, so make sure you register. It is free. And next week I am attending the Governor's Conference on Travel and Tourism, which is being held in Springfield. The governor is coming to speak, as well as Elin Hildebrand, which I am very excited about. It's one of my favorites. They're going to be talking about tourism in Massachusetts and how to, use that to drive your local economy. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to go do that. Initiatives that I'm working on social media, I don't know if everybody saw, I've been trying to get all the information that I can about events and opportunities that are happening in town within the cultural, aspect. A lot of events published through the library and the senior center, so getting information from other departments and entities and groups would be great. So if you hear anything, please pass that information along. I'm going to be doing a weekly one and a weekend one, trying to tag all the people, town sites, get everyone redirected and get some good circulation. So if you see anything, please feel free to pass it along. I think that's about it for my end. Been busy, a lot of connecting, and I'm just absolutely loving hearing all about the amazing things happening in our community that I didn't necessarily know about because I live in my own little echo chamber with my family sometimes. So it's really nice to hear all of these little awesomeness, pockets of awesome is what I've been calling out, that are happening in the community, and how much volunteerism is really going on here to make this town super special and unique.
Number one thing I learned in getting volunteers, sign volunteers up, sounds to be specific.
You want to volunteer to help out at this? And everybody's like, yeah, no. We make chicken soup for the concession stand, yes.
Yeah, right.
I'm just gonna make the last couple of updates here. So Viewfinder is the nature photography program. The material just got finalized today. There are 3 workshops geared towards teens and adults. Ed Camo, who is on here right now, is one of the facilitators there. And we also have Mark Lindholm, Holly Field, and
there's a Linda, I don't know.
Yeah, Linda Rapaski, and wasn't there another?
Oh, there's a teenager that's helping Holly, yes.
Okay. But those are gonna be posted online on the Clack Memorial Library's events page tomorrow, and we're gonna be putting that out. We can share those out there. The workshops are starting April 22nd, but they're on the 22nd, 26th, May 3rd, another May 3rd and May 10th. So April, May, and then end of May is when the contest closes. And then July is the awardee exhibition. And there's some changes this year. It's not just landscape and wildlife. There's also the small frame, like close-ups as well, which is nice. And so a lot of the new tools, the cameras that'll be available, as well as the lenses for iPhones for those small frame photos are happening as well. But please share. In addition to the Tables on the Green event with the Chamber, there's also 10 fully funded, underwritten memberships, one-year memberships with the Chamber. That is live now, and we'll be promoting it on Wednesday as well, and on socials. As a part of the application, folks talk about what kind of business they have or are in. That's open. Wayfinding, I just wanted to quickly say, for wayfinding and branding, those projects are intertwined. There's community engagement. There's a survey that's going to be going live shortly, and it was just finalized today. We are going to have a public event in the style of an open house focused on education and feedback. That'll be joint between branding and wayfinding, so people can learn about like different types of signs and also learn about, share their feedback on the places that they know and love and what's the identity of Belchertown.
When is that?
That's on March 26th. And then for wayfinding, there's also going to be some focus groups with different stakeholder groups. Branding team hired Locality Studio led by Katie Laughlin. She and Stantec are collaborating really deeply, and it's fantastic. We've been able to just like get stuff together. So things like our community engagement are going to be joint, because we're asking a lot of the same questions, and we don't want to burn people out. So a lot of collaboration.
That's awesome. All right, so next meeting, you'll notice I'm changing number 5 is now going to be called next meeting agenda request, and then just talk about our confirm our date and time. Other business was too big, so we updated it. So it is now streamlined. So if there are any agenda requests, you can send them forward. I'm trying to get better at having the agenda ready a full week before our meeting. So whatever that, I'd say the second week before, so halfway between now and our next meeting, would be great for any agenda requests for that, because I'm trying to get it out earlier. And then our next scheduled meeting is April 14th at 5:45 in the same location, unless anyone tells me otherwise. Sounds good. And I'll put it on the next agenda. It was identified the May meeting falls, I think it was identified, it might be the May meeting falls on town meeting night. Something was coming up from that. So I'll look at that and put it on the April agenda if we need to change it. Okay. Then I make a motion to adjourn the Monday, March 10th, Belchertown Creative Economy Committee meeting at 7:33 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.